ran up a check, I might do it again. Enemies close, have me thinking they're friends. 10 toes down, I'll be free until the end. Crib outside the city, I don't feel safe in my hands. Took so many years, I'm just waiting for the wins. I'm in debt to no one but the one who took my sins. I do it for real, there's no reason to pretend. If I do it once, I do it again. Add it up, bankroll, euro, peso, add it up, I'm just doing me, everything is on me, oh you matter what. Add it up, bankroll, euro, peso, add it up, I'm just doing me, everything is on me, oh you matter what. Add it up, told her if it's all me, everything is on me, gon' back it up. Matter what, told ya I'ma do me, why you hating on me, it's not adding up. I do roll like a Mack truck, country heart, I might cop a farm and go act up. Lot of scars, I was cold-hearted, now I'm back up. Keep it real, I do this once a month, I don't rap much. I just take the money and go stack up.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. This is Marie coming to your hearing today on a show of Incarceration to Incorporate. Here is my co-host Julius Campbell. He is not here tonight, and I want to thank Mr. Julius Hall for giving us an opportunity to share our stories, and the brainchild AB who came up with Incarceration to Incorporate. So ladies, it's ladies night tonight, and we're just going to chew and chat with Dina and Tasha.
Tony,
I'm sorry, Miss Tony. Dina and Tony. So Dina, I would like for you to introduce yourself, tell me your affiliation with Incarceration, and you can go.
Hi, I'm Dina Dickerson. I'm here in Birmingham, Alabama. I am the COO of the Offender Alumni Association, OAA. My affiliation is that I'm a justice impacted individual.
And Tony, can you introduce yourself? Tell me your affiliation with Incarceration.
hi, my name is Tony Barnett, and I also work with Dina. I'm the administrative director at Offender Alumni Association, and I'm formerly incarcerated also.
Okay, so Dina, tonight is the night that we tell what is going on with OAA. OAA is Offenders Alumni Association, where we come to empower, encourage, and educate one another, because one person cannot do it alone. I don't know if your transition was easy or hard, Dina, when you came home, but unlike me, my transition was not easy, so I wanted you to just, open up and tell your story, Dina.
Well, I've been home. Next week will be 11 years. So I'm sort of kind of counting down to my third birthday, right?
Okay.
So, yeah, you have these special dates on your calendar, and that's one of them. One of the things that I had promised myself is that I was going to give myself as much time as the state had. And so my goal was to be home 10 years because I had served 10 years on 114 years. And last year, I can remember in January how anxious I was to get that decade anniversary. And now it's like, okay, I get another birthday in a couple of days. And I'm already trying to formulate a post and everything. So, yeah, that's what's going on with me personally. But in and around OAA, there's so many different moving parts and so many things that's happening, because our mission and our primary purpose and our vision has always been to move forward after incarceration, do some restorative practices within our communities, reduce crime, and just leave our past behind, right? And so our community engagement is something that's real huge. After the supportive community was formed for individuals that were directly impacted by the criminal justice system. And so our first leg is what we call it. And so for years, we stood on the first leg, then the second leg, and then a couple of years we had 3 legs, and this year we actually got our 4th leg, which here's Tony to help us build that out with our violence intervention program here, and our youth programming that we do, justice impacted youth, and our returning citizens. So we have a supportive forum and other things that we actually network and resource our returning citizens to. And so I must pause right there and give you your room for your next question.
You know what I want to say? I want to say this, Dina. That is, as Miko would say, all the things that you just name and say, that is changing the narrative of how they
Yeah.
feel about returning citizens. Because all recidivism is a word that Julius like to use, and they say that within the 3 years that offender will offend and go back to prison. But here it is, you came to your 10th year. Congratulations on
Thank you.
114 years of a non-violent crime. You understand? So I just want to congratulate you, Miss Tony. You can go ahead and speak.
Well, I really don't know what to say. I've only been with OAA for 3 months now, but I feel
Mhm.
like I'm at home.
That's
I
good.
had an issue finding a job when I first got out because
Right.
I have two felonies
Mhm.
and nobody wanted to hire me even though I have my MBA.
Wow.
I couldn't even get hired at Walmart, which is crazy. But the Lord saw fit for me to sit down for 2 years, and then I crossed paths with someone who knew
Mhm.
somebody at OAA, and they took a
Mhm.
chance on me and they hired me. And so now I'm the administrative director working there, like I said, 3 months. Enjoying my stay because I'm
Mhm.
very good at what I do. I have
Right.
lots of organizational skills, and I bring a
Mhm.
component from HR, from auditing, and project management.
Wow.
So I'm
She is
here just,
truly the oil right now that has been greasing the squeaky wheels around OEA, and I'm so grateful for her because what
That's
we
very
know
good.
is that an individual is not what they've been accused of, and so then
Exactly.
society is his second prison, right? Then how is it that we can create ways to help each other move forward? If you won't hire me, then we got to create jobs. If you won't give me a
E-
place to stay, then we need to buy a home, right? And so
right.
Tony,
Exactly.
one of the interviewing, she's doing just what she did then, like we all do. We're just trying to get in the door and all this stuff. And after she got finished, the only question that we wanted to know, who are you? Before all of this stuff
Exactly.
that's totally not even about whatever you've been accused of or anything. That's not what we're here for. We're here to meet.
Exactly.
And when she opened her mouth and told us who she was, we knew she was supposed to be at OAA. And
See, that's what I'm saying, Miss Tony. That's what the empowering and the encouraging part coming about OAA. We come to empower. Nobody can do it alone. It takes a village, even with us adults. It's not just for
Yes.
the children; it's even for the adults. So, Dina, OAA has so much going on with the kids. Tell us about the mentoring program that you all have going on. What we need, Dina, in the mentoring program.
well, for one, we have to stop looking at our young men, boys 13 to 24, young adults, from a deficit. Like we don't understand why it is that certain things are taking place and why the decisions that they're making are being made, right? And so
Right.
oftentimes when we're engaging with our youth, whether that's in the alternative school or within the community itself in our community program, we have to engage with them from a space in which we came from and we sometimes forget. So we're always trying to stand up and do the scared straight model, and it really doesn't work. And I think what we tend to do is we look at them from the negative instead of looking at them with the hope that we have from the first engagement, from the first thought of what it is that we're going to do. uh,
Mm-hmm.
I believe in youth investment. That's what I call it, right? And so I believe
Right.
that there's a lot of black and brown men just like them,
Mm-hmm.
that looks like them, that are doing great things, that they need to see that there is a way out, that
Mm-hmm.
they hope that they are not defined by their demographics or their economical backgrounds or anything like that, as well as
Mm-hmm.
a diverse community of individuals that can bring another perspective, right? Uh,
Right.
and can open some doors that we may not be able to open. So that's where I am when it comes to the youth program.
But you know what? In the youth program, Dina, don't we need more mentors, men? Would you say we need more men in the mentor program? What I was talking when I was talking to Julius, when we did in visual and verbal, I had reached out to. We have a organization here in Savannah called 100 Black Men, and I try to reach out to them. And I go to a lot of their meetings, And I feel that because we had visual and verbal here in Savannah with 10 system impacted youth. And I reached out to, because after they got through with that, they still needed mentors, Dina. They needed somebody to say that they can do it, that they can make it. Just like you said, then you can't look at what they done and try to beat them over the head of what they done. They need to see some positive. Because if they living in a community that's all they see is negative, a lot of the young men say, that's what they draw from where they live at. A lot of those guys are in gangs and things like that is because of the community where they live. And so we need some positive brothers, some positive men that can give back.
Well, we're actually in the middle of a mentor recruitment. They're actually doing it tomorrow. Tony and the guys coordinated it and everything. And I was passing out some flyers prior to getting where I am now to come on the show. And a guy was getting in his car and I was saying, we're getting ready to do this and we have this youth program. And this guy tells me, ma'am, I don't have time. I'm not interested.
Wow.
So, right? Like, I'm at one of these kind of stores where we actually frequent, right? So it's like, you're not interested in what's going on with our young black men in between 13 and 18 years old with the murder rate, in Birmingham, Alabama, just off the chart with 24,000 people killed, African-American and black and brown communities that was killed in 2021. That's what the stat says. And you're not interested in, you may know somebody. So yes, we do need more black men to step up.
As Dina was saying, we do need more black men to step up. And Tony, 100 black men here in Savannah. I have never seen so many positive black men in my life. And I've gone to several of their meetings, and I really want them to reach out to the kids to be that light for them, because those young men need it. I was telling Miko before, which is Julius, I was telling him how the young man said that he never heard someone tell. I told one of the young men I was proud of them, Tony, and he stated to me, he said, no one has ever told me they were proud of me. So wow. it's the way we talk to our children also, So I really.
So can I chime in on that for a minute? Okay. Yeah. So what I know from growing up, my childhood was what happens in your household you think is normal. And that's not necessarily the case. Okay.
That's right.
So I was molested and raped when I was young. Mm-hmm. My mother married a man who he had so I call him an imposter, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until my mother let me go spend a night with another young lady that I realized that what was going on in my home wasn't right, because it didn't go on in her home.
Right.
And so, and maybe God allowed that to happen so that I could know that the situation that I was living in, I thought was normal. It wasn't. And so that's what's going on with these kids. Whatever they see their mother going through, they think that that is normal. And if the man isn't there, or if the man isn't caring for the woman as he should, then they grow into that role model.
That is so true. Yeah. That is so
true. And so that's, I mean, not that we don't need the men. I don't want any man that's watching this to believe that. I think that we as women have created an independence that's locked the men out. Not because we truly wanted to do that, but because we had our grandmothers telling our moms and our mothers telling us, go be independent.
Right.
Get it for yourself. And then we come along and say, oh, we don't need you. But we do. Because if we have children, the father is supposed to be there. Just like the mother brings one aspect, the father brings another aspect. And when the father is absent, the child grows up not knowing what the relationship, like that's their first friend. For the females, that's the father is their first boyfriend. Right? And for the men, and for the youth, that's their first friend. And so if the father is absent, they don't know those relationships. So we need men that are going to come on board and be surrogate dads or uncles or whatever you quote as a mentor, but we are the village. It's like I tell Dina, we are the village.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sad to say that I'm old because I don't like to say that. But what are we doing about the children nowadays? Like, it's up to us. When I was their age, I had people that made sure I went to school, and if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have graduated.
Wow.
Right? Because I was, I was out there. But somebody came in and reeled me in,
Mm-hmm.
made sure that I did what I was supposed to do, and got
Mm-hmm.
me through high school and graduated, and that
Mm-hmm.
pushed me on to go into college, right? Because you're at a time where you think you know everything, you really don't.
Right.
But there was somebody else that was there that cared enough to guide me through the process, even though my life was havoc, right? I was having crisis every day,
Wow.
but somebody on the outside cared enough
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that I got the things that I needed to get. And that's what we need right now, are men that feel like that about our male youth.
So, and that's one of the things that we really want the public to know. Like, what is it? And so, and we have to stop judging. You said it perfectly, Tony, is that we need someone that, because we are the village, right? And if
Mm-hmm.
that's what's wrong, everybody keeps hashtagging we the village, but are we really the village, right?
Right.
Yeah, are we being the village, right? Are we on one
Exactly.
accord as it relates to village people? Are we falling up on the status quo and feeling like these youth today are a lost cause? But our generations probably wasn't any different than the generation before. We were very different. They
Mm-hmm.
always talked about what wasn't going on in their time, in their day. This is our day, right? And so the
Right.
youth are going through the same thing. But we do know that there are some foundational things, as Tony was saying, the male factor, presence in a young man's life means something. Like
That's
me
right.
being a kid, growing up with an older aunt, my grandmother's sister, and not knowing my dad. I think the last I heard of him was like I was 5 years old, and I'm a girl, mind you, right? But I
Mm-hmm.
was in a home with a male and a female in a family kind of unit, right? That I
Right.
grew up in. And then I moved from the projects to a home setting. So it was a bit different. And when my mom say to me after I get home, um, she says, you need to go and see your dad. And I'm like, she just out of nowhere say this to me. And I'm wondering, what is this coming from? Right. And so
Mm-hmm.
she says it again, and then it irritated me because I didn't know where it was coming from, and so I say it to her with my logic and everything. Is like, I don't know why she say that. And then she say it again, like before I
Mm-hmm.
leave, and I say, if you're concerned about this guy, is what I said, then maybe you need to go and see him. Because she said, oh, yeah, because he's been sick and everything. So my thought
Mm-hmm.
was, if you're concerned about him, then you need to go and see him because I don't know him. You know what I mean?
Right.
And 5 years later, of course, I was there. Things changed and stuff like that. And I went to see him and I went with an open mind. And
Mm-hmm.
I never had any art against him. But what I'm saying is I never missed a dad because my
Right.
uncle, which is my grandmother's husband, that went to work
Right.
every day, that was a master painter, though an alcoholic. I saw that. You know what I mean? I saw that
Right.
exchange between a male and a female in a home, and what did it take to build a home, and how they worked together, how they provided, and all of these kind of things, how they communicated, and all of this stuff. So I really didn't miss it. Like my aunt had to go to work early, and I needed something going on at school. Then he would probably come by there. This is my early years before I went crazy, mind you, right?
Right.
So
Right.
I thoroughly agree, and that's what our guys got to say. They can't be something that they don't see.
I like because you said the same thing that Tony said, Dina. She said because she thought it was natural for it to have touch, that touch because she was experiencing that in the home. But when she went to her friend house, it wasn't right. And being Tony, I got molested myself. And when you are a young girl, not trying to bash a man, but when you are a young girl and you experience that, either you go one way or the other. You go one way or the other. And so we need strong role male models. You know,
We
we
do.
need it. We really really need it. Especially both little girl and a little boy. But a little girl, she looks at her daddy as her first man, her first friend, and everything. He's supposed to be her protector. And so I remember I asked when I went to work one day, Tony, I asked the man about the situation, why the village is not active as it once was. And he said, you know what he said, Dina? He said, I'm just going to tell, he said, we dropped the ball. We dropped it. We are so concerned about everything else. It is all right. You can't, you know what I do not like, Dina? I do not like to hear people tell little boys, be quiet, hush all that crying. You're a boy. So when they grow up
Yeah.
and they feel some type of way, you had already instilled in them that you toughen up. You take this. You don't cry. Guess what? Males are human. And they have feelings and emotions also. So if they can't express their feeling and emotion one way with you, they're going to do it another way.
Another way.
And that's why our prisons are so filled with African American men.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why. So because they couldn't express their emotions to mama because mama told him to toughen up, you're a boy. So he did it.
We have to infuse our community too. We have to try to infuse our community with opportunity, right?
Yeah.
Even in the mindset, because it's a shifting of the mindset, right? So, so you have to sort of kind of unlearn what you know and be open to learn something else. But then how is it that we can create these pathways with exposure to so many different avenues outside of where we are? You know what I mean?
Right.
And we really have access to, because a lot of people say it's lack of access. Right.
Right.
It's not as much as it used to be. There's so
right. That's correct.
That's available, and we when we're talking about the narrative, we have to also look at what narrative are we creating. You know, we know the one that we want to change, but what are we changing to? You know, because there is an approach, right? Right. When a young black boy tell me he wants to be a pilot, and he's from Ghana, right, and he wants to be a pilot. And I said, well, dog, man. I said, really? He said, yeah, Miss Dean, I do. He was doing community service for having some marijuana. I think he's about 18 years old. And so I said, well, why won't you? He's like, well, I don't know. I said, well, there has to be some kind of flight school, because they had this aviation talk. They were talking about an aviation training school here in Birmingham before we heard about it in Bessemer. But I asked him, well, what about the Air Force? Because my mind is Air Force, you know, fighter jets and things like that.
Right.
And he tells me that was a white man's army and stuff, and he's not going to do that. And I'm like, I said, listen, young man, I go in at this point. This was about 5 years ago. I go in, I'm like, listen, young man, don't you ever let anyone talk you against utilizing what's available to you to get you where you want to go. You know, but someone is poisoning him with that idea. So, and that,
Dina, it probably was a person who couldn't get into the Air Force that made that statement.
Yes.
Yes, probably so. Because anybody can get into the military as long as you have whatever those requirements are. They will take you as long as you are standard requirement. I did 12 years in the reserve. And if they take me, they'll take anybody. I'm joking, but yeah, yes.
I like what Dina said. You have to relearn. You have to relearn. You have to think different. But I also feel, Dina, like you said, creating different things for them to do, right? Like, because I always tell Miko, I say, it's nothing in Savannah to do. It's nothing for them to do in Savannah. That's why they get into trouble. They have nothing to do here. River Street, that's it. I'm talking about, it got to be something for them to do, to have an outlet. You know, when we did the visual and verbal with the young men, one of the young men wanted to be, a lot of them want to be a rapper or a basketball player, but I know one young man, I think he said he wanted to be like a agriculture person, like a farmer. And I think that's neat, you know what I'm saying? Because that is needed, right? And they make a lot of money. One on want to be a truck driver. So, you know, you have to, like you said, then you have to create, you have to start looking into doing those things. I tell my children, my daughter, she's in college. So I told her, I said, You know, I'm not knocking Subway and I'm not knocking McDonald's. That's a start. But I said you need to take and go into what you're going to school for. You need to go ahead and start applying for those jobs now for your career. Go ahead, just start doing it. Only thing they can do is say yes or no. I say, but with your knowledge and your wisdom, you can get it, but you just have to apply yourself.
Well, we oftentimes say that we have boots on the ground. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm hearing you because we have to have an attentive ear to to our youth, right? Because they
Mm-hmm.
have hopes and ideas and thoughts just like we had, right? And if they're
Right.
never fed and they're never fueled, then it's just meaningless air, right? And
Right.
then we'll say they never wanted anything, they never want to do anything. This is all, but we're not doing our part either, right? So my biggest thing is when I hear something about whatever it is a kid want to do, like we have a kid that wants to be a welder. So we also have an affiliate that is a what does Cal do? He's a construct. He has a
He's an electrical contractor.
yeah. He's an electrical contractor. So he deals in all this field. So my thing is either how is it that this kid could visit a place where it is? How is it that you have someone that can come and talk to him or the whole group and just to do our part and keep just scratching the ground in order to make things available to these kids, right? Because we know what our school system is doing. You know what I mean? And I have to sort of kind of wear two hats when it comes to that, because I also have to tell the kids that I need them focus on learning, but it's hard for them to focus on learning when they're coming to a crabby teacher too. Because her mind is made
Yes.
up, she burnt out, she mad, she don't want to be bothered. She already know where the kids come from, so she's really judging them from their economical standpoint. Because 9 times out of 10, they probably coming from the project that's right next door or the one that's in the community and other things. So, you know, I mean, how are they winning, and how is it that we can help them win? So that's
I
my
love it.
thing, and that's what it. That's partnering, that's creating ecosystems and stuff like that. I need to know, what did you do to get to where you are, and do you mind coming and talking to our children, right?
I like that.
And
Yeah.
how is it that we can go and take them to where these things are, these manufacturing plants? I mean, yeah, it's okay to work along this assembly line, but let's see how this whole thing works, right? It's okay to be a
Yeah.
CDL driver, but what does the logistics look like in order to get all of these contracts coming into this place, first of all, in order for them to
Mm-hmm.
go out with the goods, and really open their minds up that it's much, much bigger. We did an exercise on the 5 richest people in the world the other day, because they always say,
Uh-huh.
I'm going to get that bag when I get out. When I get grown and I get finished or whatever, I'm going to get the money. I said, what kind of money? How much money you want? So let's see who the richest people are. The billionaires are.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody write $1 billion on the board, because I can't
Mm-hmm.
write. It's just too
Right.
wide.
Right.
You know, I mean,
Right.
I wrote it out. We do this. How many zeros behind this thing? So
All
I
right.
throw 3 of them up there off the bat. They tell me, no,
That's
that's a K, Miss D. A K, what that means. So we go on. I throw 2, 3 more up there. That's not it either. So we go on and do this, because I need
this
them
one.
to see what $1 billion look like. And I need you to see people that
Hmm.
actually have this kind of money. And I also need you to research, how did they get this money? Because everything you said, people call you. None of those persons have that on their resume and in their portfolio and in their bio.
That's right.
Right? And they're not
Right.
worried about getting killed. They're not worried about going to jail either. And they probably got enough money to live whatever lifestyle they want. They don't even have to tote the pistol, because they got quite a few people probably surrounding them with them.
Right.
Just
There you
opening their
go.
minds up to there's so many other things. And we have to be as crafty as what I'm speaking as it relates to our children, and to
Yeah.
give them a hope. Right? And we'll do
Yeah.
this with Jeremiah 29 and 11. Yeah,
I
that
like
part
that.
right there. So how do we translate what we believe and we apply to our life? How do we translate it and walk that thing out so that our children can have that same hope? I'm talking about a real hopeful and an expected end.
That's, you know what, Dina? How do we translate it? We have, like you said, we have to
Gotta learn.
relearn. We have to relearn, Dina, because guess what? A lot of us are still messed up. You can be an adult, but if you
Oh,
have
don't
not
do that.
healed that,
That one on the top, that one at the bottom of the screen can talk about how folks messed up. And
you know,
where they be, where they go ahead. Let me stop
if
cutting
you,
you off, because I'm talking.
Tony, it's Tony, right? Tony, if
Yes.
being an adult, if you ain't fix that 8-year-old girl inside of you, she grows up with you as an adult. So the negative that you're feeling is that 8-year-old little girl that needs to be healed. And so until you get that healed, that mindset is not going to change.
It doesn't.
That's just my opinion.
Mm-hmm. It's not an opinion. It's a fact. We've learned that if you scar somebody when they're young and they don't get therapy, whatever therapy looks like, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go to a therapist. You might just be able to go to someone in your family who you can talk to, vent to, who has wisdom to give you about the situation, right? If you don't heal from that, you carry it. And I mean, and you see it, people see it. You 50 and somebody says something and it triggers an experience from the past. And you know who you end up looking like? That 8-year-old little girl that is having a temper tantrum because you don't know what to do. You've never, and it's not just the healing from it. You have to heal from it and learn something different. So I don't know, and maybe I got it when I was in prison. They say, if you want to unlearn something, to relearn something, it's just like taking something away. You have to find something positive to fill that void with. And if you don't, I mean, you can stop doing something negative, but there's still a void. So something negative is going to come back into it because that's your habit. That's what you're used to, right? It's like they talk about positive and negative affection. Okay. So you know how you can have, not many men do it. So I'll just talk about the women.
Okay.
You want to be loved, right? You want to be loved. And so when you get the positive attention from the man and he says, oh, honey, I love you. Like, yay, great. Then when he's ignoring you, you know what happens? If you're not healed, then you go back and do something crazy because you just want the attention. It doesn't matter. Negative attention, positive attention. It's still attention, right? So you not only do you have to heal from what you have going on, you have to learn how to process what you're going through and come up with a positive outcome.
I like
something to overlay the negative.
That's great. Yeah. That's good.
That's good. That's good right there. I like that, Tony. That's what we need to do. We need to do that, Dina. Going forward for our children, we are going to help them to relearn their thoughts.
For our children, some of our adults, and out, I can take my lick, right? Because
me too.
You got to understand a trauma response and all of that stuff. And it pops up. I got some people that help me though. You know, I actually, because what I understand is that I've embarked upon a journey to get better, right? To get better, right? So yeah, we do need to unlearn some things in order to teach. Believe it.
We do. So this is Marie. It's been a good show tonight. I thank you, Dina, and I thank you, Miss Tony, so much for coming on tonight, sharing with me. Dina, thank you for always bailing me out. This is Marie coming to your hearing. Thank you, Mr. Julius Hall. Thank you, AB. Thank you, Miko. And y'all ladies have a beautiful night. I'll talk to you again, Dina, and I'll be talking to you again too, Miss Tony. Have a good night.
We'll see you guys.
All right, bye.
like that.